कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे। जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सत अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडराचार्य बीबीटी फाउंडराचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees हरे कृष्ण। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees हरे कृष्ण। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees हरे कृष्ण। All glories to Shishu Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Continuing our readings from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 29. Today we have text 14. Sa eva bhakti yogakhya Atyantika udarita Yenati vrajatri gunam Madbhavyo papadyate Saiva bhakti yogakhya Atyantika udarita Yenati vrajatri gunam Madbhavayopapadyate Saiva bhakti yogakhya Atyantika udarita Yenati vrajatri gunam Madbhavayopapadyate. Let's chant. Saiva bhakti yogakhya Atyantika udarita Yenati vrajatri gunam Madbhavayopapadyate. Saiva bhakti yogakhya Atyantika udarita Yenapi vrajatri gunam Yenati Madbhavayopapadyate. Matadis. Saiva bhakti yogakhya Atyantika udarita Yenati vrajatri gunam Madbhavayopapadyate. Saiva bhakti yogakhya Atyantika udarita येनाति व्रज्य त्रिगुणम् मद्भावायोपपद्यते. Synonyms: Saha, this, Eva, indeed, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, Akhyaha, cold, Atyantika, the highest platform, Udarita, explained, Yena, by which, Ativrajya, overcoming, Trigunam, the three modes of material nature, Matbhavaya, to my transcendental stage, Upapadyate, one attains. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation: by attaining the highest platform of devotional service, as I have explained, one can overcome the influence of the three modes of material nature and be situated in the transcendental stage, as is the Lord. Purport: Shripad Shankaracharya, who is supposed to be the leader of the impersonalist school of philosophers, has admitted in the beginning of his comments on Bhagavad Gita that Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond the material creation. Except for him, everything is within the material creation. It is also confirmed in the Vedic literature that before the creation there was only Narayan. Neither Lord Brahma nor Lord Shiva existed. Only Narayan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu or Krishna, is always in the transcendental position, beyond the influence of material creation. The material qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance cannot affect the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he is called Nirguna, free from all tinges of material qualities. Here, the same fact is confirmed by Lord Kapila. One who is situated in pure devotional service is transcendently situated, as is the Lord. I'll repeat this. Here, the same fact is confirmed by Lord Kapila. One who is situated in pure devotional service is transcendently situated, as is the Lord. Just as the Lord is unaffected by the influence of the material modes, so too are his pure devotees. One who is not affected by the three modes of material nature is called a liberated soul, or Brahma Bhuta soul. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma is the stage of liberation. Aham Brahma Asmi, I am not this body. This is applicable only to the person who constantly engages in the devotional service of Krishna and is thus in the transcendental stage. He is above the influence of the three modes of material nature. It is the misconception of the impersonalists that one can worship any imaginary form of the Lord or Brahman and at the end merge in the Brahman effulgence. Of course, to merge into the bodily effulgence, Brahman of the Supreme Lord, is also liberation, as explained in the previous verse. Ekatva is also liberation, but that sort of liberation is never accepted by any devotee, for qualitative oneness is immediately attained as soon as one is situated in devotional service. For a devotee, that qualitative equality, which is the result of impersonal liberation, is already attained. He does not have to try for it separately. It is clearly stated here that simply by pure devotional service, one becomes qualitatively as good as the Lord Himself. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna. So the subject is very elevated, and I am not that elevated, but still Srila Prabhupada has given so much, so we can discuss some things from his purports. So Lord Kapila has described pure devotional service in previous few verses, and he has also spoken about how it may also appear that devotional service performed by different practitioners is also influenced by three modes of material nature. But in this verse, again, he is emphasizing the same point, that one who is constantly engaged in pure devotional service is beyond the modes of material nature. Only such a person can be called liberated in a real sense. And of course, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he is giving few different points about being liberated by merging in Brahman effulgence. And he's also stating how a devotee, just by engaging in devotional service, they actually already attained Brahman, liberation on the Brahman platform. And not only that, they actually attain equality with the Lord. So yesterday we heard from Brigupati Prabhu how a devotee doesn't even desire liberation from the previous verse. Why? Because engaging in devotional service is already on liberated platform. And therefore, a devotee can just be happy, engaged in devotional service. And they don't necessarily have to attain all these 5 kinds of liberation. I should say 4 kinds of liberation, because devotees, they don't desire ekatva, the merging in the form of the Lord. Because what will it lead to? If you merge, you cannot offer service. You lose your existence. And therefore, devotees, they don't want to attain this liberation of merging in the Brahman effulgence. But even the other 4, they do not desire, because they just want to remain engaged in devotional service, and that itself, it gives equality to them, to the Lord, being completely in transcendental stage. But of course, that's talking about pure devotional service. But if we have, if our consciousness is not fully purified, then it may not necessarily be pure devotional service. So that we have to see within ourselves, and of course we have our gurus, our mentors, we can find out for ourselves. But here, Srila Prabhupada starts his purport by quoting Shankaracharya, and this is one of the prayers by Shankaracharya. Bhaj Govindam, Govindam bhaja mudamate, samprapte sanihite kale, nahi rakshati dukrijan karani. Worship Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. O fool, rules of grammar will not save you at the time of your death. So there is many prayers he composed, but this is the first one in the series where he is stating this fact that one can attain jnana by studying the Vedas for eternity, but unless one, after receiving this jnana, unless one engages in devotional service, that jnana is not going to help them transcend the influences of three modes of material nature. Still, followers of Shankaracharya, they follow many of his instructions, but specifically not this one. So Srila Prabhupada is also explaining in the purport what it means to be Brahma Bhuta in a real sense. Says here, just as the Lord is unaffected by the influence of the material modes, so too are his pure devotees. One who is not affected by the three modes of material nature is called a liberated soul, or Brahma Bhuta soul. It is the misconception of the impersonalists that one can worship any imaginary form of the Lord or Brahman and at the end merge in the Brahman effulgence. It is clearly stated here that simply by pure devotional service one becomes qualitatively as good as the Lord himself. Okay. So how do devotees transcend this influence of the three modes of material nature? Like, what are the different things we do as practice, part of practicing bhakti yoga that helps devotees transcend these influences of the modes of nature? This is a prayer by Uddhava. This is stated in Uddhava Gita in the 11th canto. And this is Uddhava saying this to Lord Krishna in his discussion with him. So let's see what he says. Tvayo pabukta sraggandha vaso lankara charchita uchhista bhojino dashas tav mayam jaye mahi. That's the translation. Simply by decorating ourselves with the garlands, fragrant oils, clothes, and ornaments that you have already enjoyed, and by eating the remnants of your meals, we, your servants, will indeed conquer your illusory energy. I don't know how many of us we really think deeply about this point, because every day we are getting flowers in the temple, so much Mahaprasad, so many other paraphernalia that's offered to the Lord. But how often we actually think in this way? We eat prasad every day and we even chant the prayer, prasadam prayer, Sarira Vidyajal. But still, it depends on how attentively we are doing it. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada also mentions this point about concentrated attention in performing devotional service. And it is also mentioned, we recite it every morning actually, all the offenses, they can be avoided just by being attentive to chanting Hare Krishna, attentive to performing our devotional service. So paying attention is very important. And we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam every morning. We are discussing all these exalted subjects. But just by doing that every day, it will also lead to reflection on these points. Maybe even we are doing it inattentively. Still, gradually it will lead to stage of reflection. In purport to Nectar of Instruction on chanting the holy names, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gives different stages of chanting. And there he mentions gradually this chanting, it leads to samadhi. A devotee, when they become free from offenses, when they pay attention, and because of that, when they develop taste for chanting, then it becomes samadhi. They cannot stop chanting. You can see sometimes there is nice kirtan going on, and the speaker is like, Prabhu, this is time for class. And the devotees just wait, let me chant a little more. So, his chanting is very attractive, but it doesn't happen unless one develops taste for it. And in the previous verse, in text 7, in Nectar of Instruction itself, Rupa Goswami, he explains how in the beginning, this chanting, it tastes like taking a medicine. And we do not find so much taste in it. Because who likes to take medicines? Is there anyone here who loves to take medicines? But this is a good medicine. It's called Mantroshadhi. This is the Oshadhi of chanting the transcendental mantra, Hare Krishna mantra. And this chanting can completely free us from these influences of the modes. There is another verse in the 11th canto itself. It says there that there are two types, two eyes a Brahmana has, Smriti and Shruti. These are the two types of Shastras, Smriti Shastras and Shruti Shastras. So, not knowing one, a Brahmana is half blind. And not knowing either of them, a Brahmana is completely blind. So it is important to learn these Shastras. But in the same part, glorifying devotional service, it says, even if one is like running with closed eyes, still one will not fall on the path of devotional service. That's how powerful it is. And it also not only dissolves our gross body, but it also dissolves our subtle body. So there are many verses like this in Srimad Bhagavatam, and we can read them and meditate on them, and it helps us make it like a deeper reflection on the chanting of the holy names and develop appreciation for this. Like I remember in one of the previous classes, Archita Prabhu was saying, when we are chanting, we should recite some verses glorifying the holy name. I was actually hearing one talk by my spiritual master. He was in Mayapur, and he was speaking on the first verse of Shiksha Ashtakam. And he gave, I believe, 7 important points on chanting just from the first verse of Shiksha Ashtakam. And these were points made by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, the point is that even Lord Chaitanya himself, he says, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nij Sharva Shaktis. All the Shakti, all the different energies of the Lord are invested in this chanting of the holy names. But Na Anuraga, he says, I'm so unfortunate, I don't have any raga, I don't have any attachment for this chanting of these holy names. But like a devotee like me, when I'm sitting and chanting, or when I'm, say, leading the kirtan, I may think, wow, like, Prabhu, look at me, like, I'm doing such a nice kirtan, or I'm chanting so nicely. But this is how Lord Chaitanya is feeling, and he's actually expressing, he's showing how a devotee in transcendental stage feels. We can see, like, so many times Srila Prabhupada, he would share some experiences, but then he would show some ecstasy, and then again he would be like so humble. There is no tinge of pride, but we can notice in ourselves time to time, pride, ego, all these things, they kick in. Yesterday we celebrated Shivaratri, and there were so many people. It was very nice to see so many people came. It's during a weekday, but still people came. They did the Abhishek of Shivalingam and chanted with the devotees, took some prasad. So it was very nice to see so many people come and participate in this festival. But we can see, like, Lord Shiva, there is many transcendental qualities he has, but he's also one of the guna avtaras, and he's in charge for the mode of ignorance, but he's not influenced by it. So we can see how devotees, they are beyond the influence of the modes of nature just by engaging in devotional service. What does Lord Shiva do in his abode in Kailash? Actually, his abode is beyond the material world. It's in spiritual world. And he's completely spiritual. But he is engaging with the material energy. And in terms of organization of the material cosmos. But still, he's not influenced by it. He's completely beyond its influence. And he even engages with most of his followers. They are also completely absorbed in mode of ignorance. But because he's beyond these influences, he's not influenced by associating with his followers who are completely absorbed in mode of ignorance. Majority of them. Similarly, devotees, when they are constantly engaged in devotional service, receiving the mercy of the Lord, they can also become free from these influences. Just like Uddhava here is saying, just by receiving simple things like a flower garland or some food stuff that's offered to the Lord, or some clothing, one can overcome these influences. I remember one prayer by Prahlad Maharaj, even he say this, that because he is absorbed in Maha Magna Chitta, he is absorbed in singing the glories of the Lord. His consciousness, his chitta, his heart is absorbed in singing the glories of the Lord. So he is beyond the influences of the modes of material nature. But his concern is for the people who are absorbed in these modes of material nature, who was covered by these modes of material nature. So a devotee, a Vaishnava, is always concerned for others. He is not simply concerned for his own liberation. He is actually not at all concerned for his own liberation. We are speaking about a pure devotee. And his concern is only for how they can benefit others. Therefore, we see Lord Shiva, he dresses himself in such a simple way. And he's actually pointing to all these demigods who have so much wealth, opulence, position, that all these things are temporary. You can lose them in a moment. But we should focus on what's permanent. And that's why he's absorbed in meditating on Lord Sankarshan. He's chanting his glories in his abode in Kailash constantly. And he actually becomes very pleased when devotees, they are chanting glories of the Lord. So it's very easy to please all these devatas, these demigods, just by engaging in devotional service. Talking about the misconception the impersonalists may have, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport that they have this misconception they can worship any form of the Lord, any imaginary form of the Lord, and still attain liberation, merge in Brahman effulgence. So this is a prayer by Lord Brahma. It's a very often quoted verse, popular verse. Yanye arvindaksha vimuktamaниnas tvai ashtabhavad avishuddha buddhaya aruya krichrena param padam tata patanti adho anadrita ishmad angraya. Someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees, but who have accepted different processes for attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and the other demigods said, O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. So these different practitioners, they do not attain the benefit of their severe austerities unless they connect it to devotional service. And therefore, they have to come down. But devotees, because they are engaged in devotional service, they don't have to go through these processes, especially if one is constantly engaged in devotional service. We were discussing yesterday in Navadvip, there is this one temple of Lord Shiva. It's called Harihar Kshetra. And there is a beautiful deity of Lord Shiva. And it's half Shiva and half Vishnu, half Krishna. It's like white and black. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. I'll have to get out of this. Yep. So you can see this deity. It's a very amazing deity. It's a half Shiva, half Vishnu. So we were discussing this, how Lord Shiva is so dear to Lord Krishna. And this deity, they say actually this deity is personally carved by Lord Vishnu. The people in the temple, they say that. And I'm not sure, maybe there are some references for that. But we can see this deity. There is also one of the feet. So there is a temple in Gaya called Vishnupad. There is the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. And the other feet mark they have in this temple. Last year when we were in India, we visited this place with some devotees. And we got to see this temple. It was very amazing. So, Lord Shiva, he is so dear to Lord Krishna. Narada Muni, he was on a search to receive who has received the most mercy from Lord Krishna. He went to Lord Brahma first, and he was glorifying Lord Brahma. You received mercy of Lord Krishna. You are such a great devotee. And Lord Brahma was like, man, don't you see how many mistakes I have made? And Lord Krishna personally chastises me. But look at Lord Shiva. He gives blessings to even demons who create disturbances. Still Lord Krishna never say anything to him. You should go to Lord Shiva and glorify him. So Narada Muni, he went to Lord Shiva and he started glorifying him. And Lord Shiva is saying, why are you glorifying me? Look at me. Lord Krishna, he gives me such service that I don't want to do. And still he forced me to do such service. Why he say that? So I was reading about this part. And he said, he was asked by Lord Krishna to go as Shankaracharya and preach this impersonalist philosophy, Mayavad philosophy, which he didn't want to do. So Lord Shiva, Narada Muni is glorifying Lord Shiva in so many ways, and Lord Shiva is, responding back to him that it's not me. I haven't received. It's like there are so many other devotees. You should go and glorify. Why are you glorifying me? He actually, covers his mouth that don't talk like this. I've made so many mistakes. I give benedictions to these demons and they create so many disturbances. So his service is very difficult. Deal with ignorance. We can see Srila Prabhupada, he said this, that to make one person a devotee, it takes so much energy, so much blood, that just to convince one person, because people have so many ideas, they think that's true. So to make them understand, your understanding is not correct. It takes so much energy. We can see in our own little endeavors, trying to share Krishna consciousness with others. People come, they argue with you over so many things, and why you worshipping deity, or why you do this, why you do this, all these things. People have so many questions about things we do here. But some people whose doubts are cleared, they stay and they engage in service. And once they develop some taste, they don't want to leave. Even if you try to kick them out, they don't want to go, because they have developed taste. So that's how we see someone who has become free from the influence of modes of material nature. They become attached to Krishna. They become attached to devotional service. And they do not want to give it for anything else. Like yesterday we were discussing, Lord Shiva, he doesn't even build a hut. He's married with Mother Parvati. Like which lady will marry some guy who don't even own a place to live? And here is Lord Shiva. He doesn't even build a small hut where Mother Parvati can stay with him. And still, she don't want to give him up for anyone else. Anyways, it's already time. We can talk so many things. But the point is that devotees, they become attached to devotional service. And due to ignorance, a materialist, they become attached to living a materialistic life. So, by mercy of Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, we have access to this wonderful practices, wisdom, and we are able to render some devotional service and please the devotee, pure devotee. And by doing that, we can become free from influences of material modes of nature. But we have to remain engaged constantly, not be distracted, because there are a lot of distractions. So thank you very much for kind attention. I'm sure everyone is saturated with the festival yesterday, so we can just end here. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.